The granite in the Great Pyramid comes from more than 500 miles to the south. The ceiling of the King's Chamber are all made with gigantic granite blocks.
What if everything we know about the pyramids is wrong, and the real truth has been hidden for thousands of years? A British author and journalist, Graham Hancock, believes he has found evidence that could challenge what we think we know about ancient history. He looked at old records, strange evidence, and things that do not make sense in the official story. And by doing it for years, he has finally uncovered a trail of physical and astronomical evidence that points to a much older, much more advanced origin. The truth has finally come to light, and it's not just another theory. It's a reality we can no longer deny. Let's dive in. The Hancock Mystery. Graham Hancock was born on August 2nd, 1950 in Edinburgh, Scotland. He spent much of his early life moving between countries because his father worked as a surgeon in British colonies. He grew up in India for many years, and this early exposure to ancient cultures shaped the way he looked at history later in life. He studied sociology at Durham University, but he did not follow a normal academic path after that. Instead, he chose journalism and worked for well-known publications like The Economist, where he reported on politics, economics, and global affairs. Over time, he started to feel that something important was missing from the stories about human history, and that feeling pushed him in a new direction. In the 1990s, he made a bold decision that changed his life completely. He left traditional journalism and began researching ancient civilizations, lost knowledge, and unexplained structures around the world. He traveled to Egypt, Mexico, Indonesia, and Japan, and he spoke with experts in geology, astronomy, and archaeology. He did not limit himself to one field, and that made his work very different from mainstream researchers. While many scholars focused only on narrow topics, he tried to connect ideas from many areas to see a bigger picture. This approach brought him attention, but it also brought strong criticism from academic communities who did not agree with his conclusions. Many experts labeled his work as pseudoscience, but millions of readers and viewers saw something else. They saw a man who asked questions that others avoided. He did not claim that he had all the answers, and he never presented himself as a traditional historian. Instead, he pointed out gaps in the accepted story and asked why those gaps existed in the first place. He focused on patterns that appeared across different cultures, and he suggested that human history might be far older and more complex than what textbooks teach today. This idea became the center of his research, and it led him directly to one of the most famous structures on Earth. He kept returning to one place again and again, the Great Pyramid of Giza. This structure stands as a symbol of ancient Egypt, and most people accept the idea that Pharaoh Kufu built it around 2500 BCE. However, Hancock looked at the pyramid and saw problems instead of answers. He noticed that many details did not match the official story, and he began to question whether the accepted explanation truly made sense. He studied the structure carefully, and he compared it with other pyramids from the same period. The differences stood out clearly, and they raised serious doubts in his mind. He did not stop at surface observations, and he continued digging deeper into historical records and physical evidence. He asked why such an advanced structure showed no clear signs of its builder inside, and he wondered why the story depended on very limited proof. His research slowly built a case that challenged everything people believed about the pyramid's origin. The Kufu problem. For many years, people believed that Pharaoh Kufu built the Great Pyramid of Giza around 2500 BCE. This idea appears in textbooks, museums, and classrooms across the world. The story says that workers used simple copper tools, wooden sleds, and human strength to complete this massive structure in about 20 years. It also says that around 2.3 million limestone blocks were cut, moved, and placed with great effort and planning. This explanation sounds clear and easy to accept, but when you look closely, serious problems begin to appear. When researchers enter the Great Pyramid, they expect to find signs of the king who built it. Ancient Egyptian tombs usually contain carvings, inscriptions, and texts that tell the story of the ruler buried inside. These walls often show prayers, names, and detailed records of royal life. However, inside the Great Pyramid, nothing like this exists. The walls remain plain and silent, with no hieroglyphs and no decoration at all. This absence creates a strong contradiction, because such an important structure should clearly show who ordered its construction. Another strange detail appears in the king's chamber. A large granite box sits there, and many people call it a sarcophagus. This box has no markings, no decorations, and no clear evidence that it ever held a body. No mummy has ever been found inside the pyramid, and no burial items have been discovered either. This situation raises serious doubts about the idea that the pyramid served as a royal tomb. If a king truly built this structure for himself, then clear proof should exist within its walls. Supporters of the traditional story often point to one piece of evidence that links Kufu to the pyramid. In 1837, a British explorer named Colonel Howard Vyse claimed that he found quarry marks inside a hidden chamber above the king's chamber. These markings appeared to include the name of Kufu, and many people accepted this as proof. However, this claim does not stand on strong ground. Vyse used explosives to reach the chamber, and no independent witnesses confirmed the discovery at that time. Some researchers later noticed inconsistencies in his records, and they questioned whether the markings were genuine or added later. This situation leaves historians with very limited evidence connecting Kufu to the Great Pyramid. There are no clear records from ancient Egyptian texts that describe its construction, and no detailed accounts explain how such a massive project took place. The entire story depends on assumptions rather than strong proof. This lack of evidence forces people to reconsider what they have always believed about this structure. The mystery grows deeper and more difficult to ignore. The structure itself begins to reveal a level of skill that changes everything. The impossible engineering. This structure does not look like a simple project built with basic tools. It shows a level of precision that even modern engineers find difficult to achieve. One of the most striking features is its alignment. The pyramid aligns almost perfectly with true north, not magnetic north, with an error of only about 0.05 degrees. This level of accuracy requires advanced knowledge and careful measurement. Yet, the accepted story says workers used simple tools made of copper and stone. The base of the pyramid also presents another challenge. It covers more than 13 acres, and the entire surface remains almost perfectly level. The variation across this massive area measures less than an inch. Even today, achieving this kind of flatness requires advanced equipment and careful planning. The fact that ancient builders achieved this level of accuracy raises serious questions about the tools and methods they used. The way the stones fit together adds another layer to this mystery. The limestone casing stones and the granite blocks inside the structure join with such precision that a thin blade cannot pass between them. Some joints follow straight lines, while others curve and lock into place. This design helps distribute weight and pressure across the structure, making it extremely stable. This type of construction does not look random or experimental. It shows planning, knowledge, and skill at a very high level. The materials used in the pyramid also create confusion. The builders used granite for important internal chambers, including the king's chamber. Granite is a very hard stone, and cutting it requires strong tools. However, the traditional explanation says workers used copper tools, which are too soft to cut granite efficiently. Modern experiments using similar tools show slow progress and poor results. Workers struggle to shape even small pieces of granite, which makes the idea of shaping thousands of large blocks extremely difficult to accept. The internal design of the pyramid reveals even more complexity. The Grand Gallery rises with precise angles and smooth surfaces, showing careful planning and execution. The King's Chamber includes heavy granite beams placed above it to distribute weight and prevent collapse. These features show an understanding of structural engineering that goes beyond simple trial and error. The builders clearly knew how to manage stress and pressure within the structure. Some researchers also point out mathematical patterns within the pyramid. The ratio of its height to its base closely matches the value of pi, and its proportions reflect knowledge of geometry and the Earth's shape. These details suggest that the builders possessed an advanced understanding, not just practical skill. This combination of precision, material choice, and mathematical design creates a strong impression that the pyramid represents more than a basic construction project. All these details challenge the idea that the pyramid came from a simple and limited technology. The problem becomes even more difficult when we look at how these massive stones reached the site. The transport puzzle. Moving the stones of the Great Pyramid of Giza creates a problem that seems even harder than shaping them. The builders did not use small pieces of rock. They used massive blocks that weighed several tons each. Some stones inside the structure reached weights of up to 80 tons, especially the granite blocks in the King's Chamber. These heavy stones did not come from nearby areas. Workers brought many of them from Aswan, a region located more than 500 miles south of Giza along the Nile River. This distance alone creates a serious challenge when we try to understand how they transported such heavy material. The common explanation says that workers placed stones on wooden sleds and dragged them across the ground. Some theories suggest that people poured water in front of the sleds to reduce friction and make movement easier. While this method might work for smaller loads, it becomes very difficult to imagine for blocks weighing tens of tons. Moving such heavy stones over long distances would require incredible effort, coordination, and time. The official timeline still claims that the entire pyramid was completed in about 20 years, which makes this process even more difficult to accept. Another idea suggests that workers used large ramps to move the stones upward as the pyramid grew taller. Some researchers describe straight ramps, while others propose spiral ramps around the structure. However, these theories also face serious problems. A straight ramp would need to be extremely long and massive, possibly larger than the pyramid itself. Yet no physical evidence of such ramps has been found at the site. Archaeologists have searched the area carefully, but they have not discovered remains of these large structures. The spiral ramp theory tries to solve this problem by suggesting that ramps wrap around the pyramid. However, this idea also lacks clear evidence. There are no strong signs of internal or external ramps that match this design. Without solid proof, these explanations remain uncertain and incomplete. Engineers who study these theories often point out that they do not fully solve the problem of moving such heavy stones with limited tools. Modern experiments provide another perspective on this issue. Engineers and researchers have tried to move large stones using methods similar to those suggested in ancient times. Even with modern knowledge and equipment, these attempts prove difficult and inefficient. Handling stones that weigh many tons requires careful planning and strong machines. The idea that ancient workers completed this task with simple tools raises serious doubts about the traditional explanation. The challenge does not end with moving the stones across land. Builders also had to lift them to great heights as the pyramid grew. Placing heavy blocks accurately at higher levels requires control and precision. Without advanced lifting systems, this process becomes extremely difficult to imagine. Each step of the construction adds another layer of complexity that the simple explanation does not fully address. And just when the engineering mystery seemed impossible enough, new evidence began to suggest the pyramids might be far older than history claims. The hidden timeline. When researchers looked beyond the pyramid itself, they began studying the surrounding area, and one monument stood out clearly. The Great Sphinx of Giza sits near the pyramids, carved from a single mass of limestone, and it has always been part of the same historical story. Most Egyptologists say it was built around 2500 BCE during the reign of Pharaoh Khafra. However, some scientists believe this timeline does not match the physical evidence found on the monument. In the 1990s, a geologist named Robert Schoch examined the Sphinx in detail. He did not study it as a historian. He studied it as a geological structure. When he looked closely at the body of the Sphinx and the surrounding enclosure walls, he noticed deep vertical erosion patterns. These patterns did not match the damage caused by wind or sand. Instead, they showed signs of heavy and prolonged rainfall. This discovery created a serious problem for the accepted timeline. The Giza region today is very dry, and it has been mostly desert for thousands of years. Strong rainfall capable of creating such erosion did not occur during 2500 BCE. Scientific studies show that the last period of heavy rainfall in that region happened between 10,000 BCE and 12,000 BCE. This means the Sphinx could be much older than the official date suggests. If the Sphinx dates back to around 10,500 BCE, then it existed long before the rise of ancient Egyptian civilization as we know it. This idea challenges the entire historical timeline. It suggests that a different and possibly more advanced group of people may have lived in that area much earlier than expected. These people would have had the knowledge and ability to carve such a massive monument from solid rock. This new timeline connects with another idea that researchers have explored. Some scientists believe a major global event occurred around 12,800 years ago, during a period known as the Younger Dryas. This event may have involved sudden climate change, melting ice, and possibly a comet impact. Such a disaster could have destroyed early human settlements and erased evidence of advanced cultures. At the same time, another researcher named Robert Bauval studied the layout of the pyramids and compared it with the night sky. He noticed that the three pyramids of Giza do not form a straight line. Instead, their positions match the three stars of Orion's belt. He used astronomical calculations to determine when this alignment would have appeared directly above Giza. His results pointed to around 10,500 BCE, the same period suggested by the erosion studies of the Sphinx. This connection between geology and astronomy creates a powerful pattern. It suggests that the builders of these monuments may have designed them with knowledge of the sky and the Earth's history. The pyramids and the Sphinx may belong to a much older timeline than we have been taught. This realization opens the door to a much deeper and more surprising possibility. The lost builders. If the dates do not match the official story, then the builders may not be who we think they are. Graham Hancock believes the Great Pyramid of Giza was not built by Pharaoh Kufu or any ruler from 2500 BCE. According to his research, this lost civilization existed before the end of the last ice age. Around 12,800 years ago, a major global event may have destroyed large parts of the world. Some scientists connect this period to the Younger Dryas. a time of sudden climate change and possible impact events. If advanced groups lived before this disaster, then only small parts of their knowledge may have survived. This idea explains why later cultures might have inherited structures they did not fully understand. Hancock describes these ancient builders as highly skilled in engineering, astronomy, and navigation, track the stars, and design structures with precise geometry. The Great Pyramid shows signs of this knowledge through its alignment, proportions, and internal design. These features suggest planning at a level that goes beyond simple tools and basic methods. These cultures lived far apart and had no clear contact with each other. Despite this distance, their structures share mathematical patterns and connections to the sky. This similarity suggests that they may have received knowledge from a common source in the distant past. Inside the Great Pyramid, new discoveries have added more mystery to this idea. In 2017, scientists used muon tomography to scan the structure and found a large hidden void above the Grand Gallery. This space appears large enough to hold a passenger jet, yet no one has fully explored it. The discovery raised many questions, but it did not lead to a detailed investigation or a public explanation. Earlier, in 1993, a German engineer named Rudolf Gentenbrink sent a robot called Upuaut-2 into narrow shafts inside the pyramid. The robot found a sealed door deep within the structure. Instead of opening it for further study, authorities limited access and stopped further exploration. These events created suspicion among some researchers, including Hancock, who believe that important information may not be fully shared with the public. This pattern of limited access and incomplete answers adds another layer to the mystery. If the pyramids hold deeper secrets, then those secrets may connect to a lost chapter of human history. The idea that an advanced civilization existed long before recorded history challenges everything we think we know about the past. As these pieces come together, the pyramids begin to look less like tombs and more like messages left behind. What do you think about this discovery? And do you believe the pyramids were really built by a lost ancient civilization or by the Egyptians as we were taught? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Also, consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, because we'll be uploading more incredible stories like this one in the coming weeks. Until then, see ya.